Hello there. Thanks for clicking on this video. My name is Camilla, an 18-year-old senior in California. I'm an only child adopted when I was 10 from Brazil. I currently live with my dad in a small studio apartment after my mom died in a car accident just a few years back. Up until that point, we were a small, tight-knit family. I am always so grateful for everything my dad has done to ensure I have a bright future after my mom passed away. So I've been always working to become the best and hopefully get a really good job so I can repay my dad for what he's done. That's when what I thought was a miracle was presented to me. Well, it turned out to be one of my worst nightmares. Before I get into the story, please make sure to leave a like and hit the subscription button for more content like mine. It really helps the channel grow so many people's stories can become faster animated and shared with everyone. Prior to the pandemic, I was just a normal and shy girl at my all-girls school. I never really stood out or was popular, and I was okay with that. But when the pandemic hit, everything started to change. Because of COVID-19, I recently picked up a new hobby online, which was writing hot and steamy eroticas. I do it for fun, and in the future, probably make this a full-time job. But in the meantime, while I hone in on my skills, I posted it online for feedback and criticisms too. What I didn't expect was to become one of the top 10 writers in the whole website in less than a year. The company of that writing platform reached out to me as well because of my fast-rising success. They wanted me to write each week, and in exchange, I'll be paid to do so. It was like a dream come true. I was making money in the thousands doing something I was good at, all while remaining to be anonymous by the username LittleGirl18. Now, because I write romantic erotica, I also spent a lot of time doing research, if you know what I mean. I didn't sleep around with guys, but I spent a lot of time looking at adult toy stores and videos. It was the only way for me to understand and write erotica better, since I'm a virgin. Growing up in a private all-girls school made me quite reserved. I never flaunt what I was going to make income because it's a huge secret. But everyone was curious since I was able to afford some decent clothing and jewelry, too. Everyone knew I wasn't rich and was on scholarship, so it was only natural people got curious. And I refused to say a word about my side hustle job writing eroticas for the world. Although most of my stories ranged in different adult themes and kinks, I had a major secret. For whatever reason, my best-known work has to do with a taboo love story between a dad and his daughter. It drew in millions of reads from around the world, and even made many people ask if this was passed on a real-life story, which it isn't. Maybe it was because of my username as well that people found it hard to believe. Not to mention, Dad would never think of something like that. I was his daughter that he raised since I was 10. He never touched or looked at me inappropriately. I thought there were times he would brush up to me when he was walking by, but it had to be in my head. One day after I went out to get some groceries for me and Dad since we were running low due to the pandemic, I saw him on my laptop. He didn't dare say a word until I was close enough. My profile and story was pulled up on the computer. "So this is what you spend all your day in front of your laptop writing?" he asked, his voice low and thick for some reason as he refused to meet his eyes. My dad was well built for his age. In fact, some students from my school used to love gawking at him, and I guess he's handsome. But to realize your dad has read your erotica halted any attraction as horror filled me. "Answer me, sweetie." "Daddy," I swallowed, averting my eyes onto the laptop. "Why are you on my laptop?" "Sweetie, I thought you were studying hard and writing essays for school, but you're writing these kinds of rated R things?" he asked, refusing to answer my original question. All of a sudden, I felt like a bad girl, like I was just a child again as I was being disciplined and spanked. "Well, it's... I stuttered out, trying to find an excuse. I couldn't lie, it wasn't me, since I was logged into my profile right on the laptop. I've never lied to Dad before, and right now I was having just as hard of a time. This was the man who took me in and spoiled me rotten. "Have you done these things before?" he questioned, his eyes narrowing. I thought anger and jealousy flashed in his eyes before it went away just as quickly. He stood up, towering over my small and petite body. "Have you slept and let someone take that cherry of yours?" I felt myself blushing at my dad's question and meekly shook my head. "No, of course not." "Could have fooled me," he mumbled. "Could have fooled me with the stuff you've written." "I go to an all-girls school. There's no way I could do something like that," I found myself confessing. I felt the tears and secondhand embarrassing hitting me full force. "And I don't have the time anyways." "So this is..." He trailed off, gesturing for me to continue. "I write eroticas online and I get paid to do it. It's a great side income to help around the house. That's why I stopped asking for allowance," I explained, biting my lower lips as I stared at him. "Have you read most of them?" "Just about," he commented and cleared his throat. So, how do you know so much about these things then? Adult stores and doing research through videos, I admitted. God, this was not something I wanted to talk about with my dad. Why? You're a very talented writer, but... I perked up at the last word. Suddenly, it was like a switch went out in me about being embarrassed as I focused into his words. I'm always looking for improvement however I can. Seeing as my dad was a man, he should know if there's anything that seemed off about the writing since I have no experience. But it doesn't seem authentic, if you ask me, he declared, his eyes finding mine. I gulped, pressing my lips thinly together. Really? Don't get me wrong, sweetie, he defended as he got up from the desk to stand in front of me, caressing my cheeks in a tender way. My dad has done it hundreds of times before, yet it feels different today, as he continued. You're a great writer, but the writing is lacking from an experienced person who's done these things before. I knew it, I said, pouting as I threw my hands up in the air. Frustration ran in my veins that I was phony. But what can I do about it when I have no one willing to help me write better by performing these acts? There was a small pause, and then the room became 10 times hotter as he took my cheeks and smothered it between his hands. My voice was barely above a whisper. Why not do it with me? What? I stuttered, shocked at his question. Do it with you like make love with me, he remarked. If it wasn't for him holding me, I might have run into my room in embarrassment. Compared to my dad, I wasn't anything special. I was average in everything I do, even my looks. But that's... If you think about it, he continued, you can look at videos and try adult toys, but it won't capture the real authentic thing like doing it with someone. It's wrong, Daddy, I whispered as he lowered his face till our lips were barely inches apart. Why? I'm your stepdad anyways, he replied. You trust me, right? I nodded. Of course. And you don't want to give your virginity to someone you don't know, right? He responded instead. Again, I nodded. In my head, this all makes sense. If I had better understanding, then I can generate more stories than speak to the readers. This was the person that took me in and raised me. And if you trust me, I'm never going to betray your trust. Okay, sweetie? And then his lips were on mine. One thing led to another, and we ended up doing it all around the house. He even ended up acting out some scenes from my book or suggested new ideas for us to try as well. And I trusted him with my heart and body for the sake of writing. He took me on the couch with me bent over. He took me in my bedroom as I panted, Daddy. He took me even in our backyard, rough and fast. It was a bit hard because I had to keep my voice down, yet it made me feel so much better because it was wrong. Yet I never was able to stop him, and the thought of almost getting caught only fueled my excitement. And it continued for a while because it actually felt good. Every time I thought of a scene in my erotica that didn't seem to make sense, I would ask Dad for help in recreating it. He was always so eager to help, and my stories did get better in terminology. I was drawing in more readers who said my stories are now steamier and hotter. The money was pouring in, and Dad allowed me to keep every single one, too. Everything was going well, until I realized I was starting to slack in school because when I got home, I was either focusing on writing or making love with my dad around the house for the sake of my story. My grades started to suffer. And because it's my senior year, I was scared my college application would be revoked. But every time I brought it up, my dad would just brush it off saying, You don't need to go to college at this point, sweetie. You can just focus on writing full-time since you're so good at it. See, at the end of the day, I think writing is just a hobby. It's not something I want to do full-time. I wanted to be a nurse like my stepmom and help people around the world. Writing was something I did for casual fun, and it was nothing more than that. Daddy, I want to study and go to college, I made clear to him. And I'm sore and I have writer's block. I want to take a break. And that was when he started to change. If you don't continue, he threatened, I'm going to tell everyone you write eroticas. I'll email it to all the students and even your college admission office about this. I will ruin it for you, so don't test me, sweetie. And then he left my room. I was baffled by him. He had never pressured or talked to me like that before. It frightened me so much that I had to share my story anonymously for advice because I don't have any friends at school. Even if I did, I'm scared of being shamed for it too, since it's taboo. So I have to ask here, what should I do? I have enough to run away, but I'm scared he'll turn to drinking when I'm good. When Mom died, he was a mess. The only reason he was able to pull through is because of me. Not to mention, I'm scared my reputation will be ruined. If I continue making love with my dad, I'm scared it's going to get worse for my grade and I'll end up expelled. I'm so conflicted. Please leave a comment on what I should do, and I'll be sure to read every single one of them.